Good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone, and welcome to TSL's Number, a place, a space, and a face of love, a spiritual community teaching ancient wisdom and applying universal principles to embody the intelligence of the divine and empower our lives and the lives of others. We want to thank you with us today, and first and foremost, we want to send a heartfelt condolences to, as Teresa mentioned first, our community members, Dale and Barb, who made their transition recently. And we just know that they'll have love and light on their journey and that we are with them and the family. So please hold them in your prayers as we move through today and the next weeks. And so today, our talk is transforming fear to faith. Fear to faith. And I want to start by, I want to wish all the graduates and upcoming graduates, and my son is one of those, he'll be graduating next week rather. And we want to wish a heartfelt congratulations and success on their completing this leg of the journey, this journey called life. And now the question becomes for them, are you prepared for the next adventure of the journey? Now, for some, that'll be college. For some, that will be a job. And I would suspect that many of you, once you get over the celebration and the excitement of the completion of school, the question will loom, are you ready for the next step? Are you contemplating the next step? And the bigger question is, will you step with confidence or will you step with fear? You see, because we understand that those are options on the path. And so this month, we are looking at and exploring the wonders of emotion. And today we're going to look at fear and how that can manipulate us and how we can transform it. And exactly what this whole idea of emotions brings to us and what it is. And first and foremost, let's just start right at the top, as they say. Emotions are like gauges in your car. They are like gauges in your car. They are there to inform you when things are out of balance or when things need attention. And they provide great information and areas for us to reflect upon, to explore, and to grow. Now, I'm quite sure, there's been this talk and there's always this thing about, well, we shouldn't deal with fear and this, that, and the other. And I'm here to say that I'm sure none of us would want to ride around in a car without any gauges. We don't know if we need oil. We don't know if we got enough. Even with the newer cars, you can check the air pressure and gas. I mean, there's all kind of gauges, what the temperature is outside the car, inside the car. And so these gauges are very important for us to navigate life. And so emotion, and the one that we're looking at today, fear, are indicators of how we're traversing the path, how we're moving forward. And now, I'm sure some of you may have heard the news yesterday, or you may have heard it this morning, the first all-Black crew who climbed Everest, which is a major accomplishment. I think that this is the first ever in the history of climbers climbing Everest where the whole team was Black. That's a great accomplishment. And I would venture to say, when they started, the question was, what were they feeling then and what are they feeling now? Did they step forward with fear or with confidence? Or did it start with some fear that got transformed into a faith that allowed them to accomplish this major feat? Now, fear is one of the most common human emotions. And faith is on the other side of that spectrum. And so I want to share this with you, this quote from Ernest Holmes that says, fear is the antithesis of faith. Like faith, fear may be conscious or subjective. And if it is to be eliminated, it must be removed both consciously and unconsciously. It must be removed both consciously and unconsciously. Now, when we say remove here, I mean, we look at Ernest in the time that he was writing. We don't mean we want to get rid of the fear, because as we just said, it's a gauge. It's a gauge for life. It lets you know where you are, what's happening. And so when we look at it, we understand that we need these different emotions. We need these different emotions. And so what we have to really begin to understand and get our head around is, what is an emotion, and how does it affect us? And then how does it interact with everything? So first and foremost, let's be clear. Emotions are neurochemical awarenesses within our body based on our environment. Let me say that again. Emotions are a neurochemical awareness or response to our environment. They've been with us since time. The flight or flight. I mean, when you see the best way, I think, to kind of encapsulate this is, imagine the gazelle. We've all seen some safari pictures or pictures from the bush, and you could see a gazelle at the water drinking, paying attention. And when that lion comes up, or when the hyena, or when any kind of a threat comes up, they feel that. They feel that in their body, and they raise their head. There's a biochemical neural awareness of the environment that creates that emotion. And in turn, that emotion generates a feeling within our body, which is our reactions to the emotional stimuli that we just got. And so when we begin to understand these things in their right context, and to be able to navigate life effortlessly, without issue, without any real, with any trepidation. And so the thing that we want to start with, I think that's really grand for us, is, what are some of the basic emotions? Now, there's different highlights as to how many different basic emotions there are. There's some that say 6 and 8 and 12, and I've even seen 27. But I think these 8 emotions right here create a foundation of gauges for us in our lives to understand, how do we transform fear to faith? So we have anger and fear and pain and joy and passion and love and shame and guilt as the 8-fold expression of emotions. And as we see to the right of those, we see these different synonyms, if you will, synonym emotions of what they are. Anger kind of morphs into resentment and irritation and frustration, and fear moves into apprehension, or being overwhelmed or threatened or scared. And so as we move through life looking at these gauges, and today we're going to focus on fear, we must understand that at our basic level, we are energy, we are light. And we can either restrict the light or free the light. And so we get to this point to where, when are we going to read the scales correctly and then move forward in life? So, here we look at this idea of, from time immemorial, it has been almost instinctive for man, from confronting with fear, to turn to what he has considered a power greater than himself, or greater than herself. And what is that power? That power is the divine. That power is a faith that we have understood and practiced and learned throughout life as to what we're doing, as to who we are, and how to use these emotions, and specifically the emotion of fear, so that we are prepared for the journey of life. Now, I'll be driving next week to my son's graduation, and I'm looking forward to it. Should be a great time. But before I get on the road, I'm going to check my gauges. I'm going to see, is my gas tank filled? Do I need an oil change? Do I have the right air pressure in my tires? Is my air conditioner working? Because I want to know that as I move through this journey called life, I want to know, am I equipped? And equipped is not the real word, because we all have the gauges. I guess I should ask the question, am I aware that my gauges are working, number one, and then number two, am I going to pay attention to the gauges? Now, at the beginning of the month, we started out with this whole thing about emotion, and we used this image here of the emotional scale, of how we can go up and down these different motions. And just like in our car, when you fill the tank up, that gauge goes from full to empty. It begins to show us where we are on the path, and it begins to help us navigate life. And then we read that gauge, and then we transform that E to say, ooh, I need to make a stop at the next gas station. I need to get some more fuel. So we begin to use this metaphor of transforming fear to faith by driving our car and using the gauges. And as we focus on this idea, we understand that we are dealing with mental equivalence when we deal with these emotions. Every thought creates a world, and thoughts, feelings, and emotions are a tanglement of how we navigate life. And so we must begin at that moment to figure out what are the steps required to transform fear to faith, so that we can use these gauges effectively to navigate. And so first and foremost, I have three things here I want to leave you with to help you navigate and transfer fear to faith. Now, the first one is a revealing is a healing. The first thing we have to understand, what is it that's causing the fear? What are we resisting? What are we apprehensive about? What are we afraid of? Because once we understand that, once we see that, then we're able to take action. But we have to be aware. We have to know what it is that's causing the fear. It's not bad. It's not bad when the gas indicator says it's on E. It's an awareness that if you don't fill up your tank pretty soon, you're going to be stuck side the road. So that leads us to the thing that we must become expert sign readers. We got to become sign readers. We got to look at the symbols and the signs and begin to understand what they mean in relationship to us and where we're trying to go, or what we're trying to be, or better yet, to just anchor in the idea of who and what we are in the reflection of God. Who are we in the reflection of God? So we ask the question, when we look at this revealing as a healing, we ask the question, what are you feeling and why? What are you feeling and why? This is the first thing we need to do to transform fear to faith. We have to understand, we have to be aware and get behind the scene and read all the signs. The sign may be a record you hear on the radio and say, ooh, that puts me in a exciting mood or a depressing mood, right? Why? What thoughts, feelings, and emotion has created this complex that puts us in that spiral? And then how do we recognize and read that sign maybe more astutely or in a better way so that we can move forward? Now, once we've had this understanding that revealing is healing, and we begin to look at our emotions and our fears and begin to see what the cause is, the next thing is to realize that your faith will heal you. Your faith is what heals you. Jesus said, rise. He says, I didn't do any. He asked to the blind man, he said, look, rise up and go. I didn't do anything here. It is your faith that healed you. So Jesus is saying here that, hey, I just reminded you of the tools and the skills you have within your body. When you read the place and time and efforts and everything correctly, you can heal yourself. You just got to have faith. You got to have faith. And so our internal experiences are created by these emotions and thoughts and feelings. And when we can work with them together and we can move them in a way, then we can move at the speed of light. Let me put it that way. We can move at the speed of light. And so when we think about that, this quote from Carolyn Mice, she says, surrendering your problems in faith to the divine is not crazy. It's cosmic liberation. So set your soul free. Pray like you have nothing to lose except your fear. Pray like you have nothing to lose except your fear. Because see, it is here in this cauldron of spiritual practice and balancing our lives and understanding and reading the signs that we move forward by faith. Because it says, faith propels you not by sight, right? It's not by sight. It's by reading the signs, the internal signs, the God-given talents that every individual and creature on this planet has been blessed with, is to tap into the energy, tap into the light of the divine, and go where it may lead you. Go where it may lead you. And so once we've had this revealing and we understand that that is the healing from the fear, and that we move in this exciting realm of faith and believing and knowing, as we move the scale from fear to faith, we're just reading the signs better. We're looking at our gauges better. No one wants to throw out the gauge for the gas tank. No one wants to throw out the gauge for fear or any of the emotion, because it lets me know where I am and what I need to do to move forward with ease and grace. But then once we've done that and we've understood and we've gotten the sign reading down and we can navigate with the best of them, we have to, as our song on the closing says, we have to release and let go and let the Spirit run our life. We have to release and let go and let the Spirit run our life. Because that is what's needed to be successful. That's what's needed. Now, Dr. Beckwith says this: when you have faith the size of a mustard seed and abandon yourself and all the details of your life to it, your greater yet to be bursts forth. You will meet it everywhere. It will press itself against you and multiply around you. You will hear the Spirit whispering inwardly to you about why you are here and what you come here to do, revealing the agreements in your divine contract. That's what happens when you release and let go, and you let the Spirit run your life. You tap into that divine creative contract, as Dr. Beckler said, that navigates life easily. Doesn't mean there won't be problems. Doesn't mean there won't be some issues that we have to face. But what it does say, it is easy when we have the right. It's easier to know I'm about to run out of gas when I'm using my gauges. I don't have to be anxious about, am I going to run out of gas? I just look at my gauge. So I use my emotions the same way. And then I can release it, because I know at any moment when something is feeling off, I look at my gauge. I check my happiness meter, or my fear meter, or my celebration meter. Whatever it is, I tap into it. And so when we do this release and let go, the first thing is you got to stay aware. I can't fill the tank up. It's going to take a couple of tanks of gas to get from here to St. Louis. So I have to be aware. I have to, on occasion, look at the gauge. And then even now in the modern cars, they have, when you get close to 10 miles of running out of gas, additional light comes on to say you got about 10 miles before you run out. So if you've been ignoring me all this time, you better pay attention now. So we have to be aware, stay aware. And then we need to feel the energy of the situation, which means we have to be in tune with the universe. We have to be in tune with the infinite. And how do we do that? We do that with prayer. We do that with exercise. We do that with diet. We do that with establishing relationships and communication. Because we're living a holistic life here. We're not living in one realm of life. We're living a holistic life. So we have to be in tune with the infinite, and that means everything must be working and cooperating and communicating and properly fueled at all times. And when we do that, the key becomes oh so obvious, that we increase our vibration. When I fill the tank up, I can increase the longevity of my trip. When I make sure I'm healthy, I can increase the longevity of the trip, and it gives me better tools to stay aware and follow the gauges that we get with emotions. So that's the ticket. As we try to transform fear to faith, we must first reveal so we can heal. What are we afraid of? Do we understand what it is? And once we've revealed it, we can heal it with faith, the opposite end of it. We can heal it by tapping into that energy, that light, that divine source that is always there, seeking to enlighten us and to guide us wherever we go. And once we've got used to that dance with spirit, then we can release and let go and allow spirit to run our life, to keep us aware, to increase our vibration when we need it, and to tune it down when we need a rest, to give the gauges a rest. And so when we think about this week and we move forward with what we want to do and how we want to survive, as always, we have our call to action. And our call to action this week is this: Am I reacting out of fear or faith? Let's be clear about how we act through the week. Are we acting out of fear, or are we acting out of faith? And once we've done that, then we want to explore what faith is for you and for me, and how you and I engage and follow it. Do I ignore the signs? Do I just, not act as if there are no gauges there? That's what we have to do. And when we do that, I like this closing slide here by Charles Fillmore that says this: there is no lack of anything anywhere in reality. The only lack is the fear of lack in the mind of man. we do not need to overcome any lack, but what we must overcome, the fear of lack. So we must overcome this idea that we're in an environment, that we're in a world that is not plentiful. We are plentiful. God has given us all we need, and the only thing we need to do now is be aware, read the gauges, and move through life. Because emotions are gauges to help us navigate life and to stay in tune. And awareness is the master key. So as we move through life, we take on this idea of vulnerability, which enhances our awareness, and we look at it as a very important tool. And once we learn the language of emotions, they will help us know when our faith is low or our fear is high. Let us pray. And so I just take inventory of my whole being right now, and I invite each and every one of us to do the same. To notice the feelings that we are feeling right here, right now. And to begin to traverse that feeling and understand the emotions that are present. What is it right now that is activating this feeling that I have at this very moment? Because I know that for me and for you and for everyone on this planet, the source of all light, the source of all feeling, the source of all emotions is the divine. It's God itself. And I know that we are connected in a myriad of different ways that allow us to read into the success of our life, the success of humanity, and release the fear about all of the different things that we find going on in our lives right now. These ideas of lack and shortage and war and inflation and all these things that can create an emotional reaction that moves us to fear. But what we depend on and know is that if we read the signs and feel the vibrations of God, that we can move forward with faith and not with fear. And because I know that to be true now and forevermore, I declare right here, right now, for all of us on this call and for all of us who may join us later, that we are fortified with the Spirit of the divine, that we are ready, willing, and able to take on any emotional gauge, if you will, to look at it with the proper perspective and to move it along the spectrum from empty to full, to be full of faith, to be full of courage, to be full of laughter and joy and communication and all these things that help us navigate life a little bit easier. And so I give thanks right here, right now for all of the emotional gauges that I have in myself. Everything to let me know that when I'm on course or I'm slightly moving off course. To allow me to feel that. I don't want to put Novocaine in my hand so I don't feel the fire. I want to understand what fire is and use it in its proper perspective. And so it is in that thanksgiving, it is that understanding that I release this prayer into a law that is accurate, that is infallible, that is activated right now with these words and these feelings and these emotions that we release into the universe. And as Reverend Dr. Michael said, that at this very moment, the universe is conspiring to make this prayer an activation in our lives. And so we just release it, let go, and know that it is so. And so it is. Amen, amen, and amen.